Good morning, Shahzad, Sheikh, motoring Middle East. It is actually 7 o'clock in the morning. You have to come out early now that it's June here in the UAE. It gets pretty hot. Even now the temperature is about 31.5 degrees. We're up in the mountains near to Fujairah. And I am in a Mercedes AMG GT. So let's turn it on. Give you a view of the car turning on as we do that. Starter button is down here. All the buttons are down here. The gear lever is way back here. I'll come back to that in a minute. So let's press this button here. Oh my word, can you hear that? There's your display panel, and you got the usual Mercedes sort of stuff on there. That's pretty neat. Assistance graphic. Ooh, tells you how far you are from other cars and stuff like that. Oh, let's go into AMG mode. That's quite nice. Now, just before we set off, I just want to show you these. Down here, we've got banker buttons. That's just the volume control. That is for the transmission. You can go into manual mode. That is stop start. We don't like that, but anyway, leave it on for now. This is exhaust. Let me just turn it on. Did you hear that slight deepening? Don't know if you can pick that up. Over, and there's the gear lever down here. This is the suspension. Two settings for that. AMG ride control, comfort, sport, and sport plus. And then of course traction off, which we're not going to touch on this particular occasion. Engine start, and this one here is interesting. So you've got individual mode, comfort, sport, and sport plus. I just want to show you up here on the screen. That is now sport. So comfort is that one. Everything is in comfort, as you can see. Turn it over into sport, and you've got everything in sport apart from the exhaust. We quite like the exhaust sound. And when you turn it into sport plus, it goes like that. Put it into race, and it all goes a bit mental with the ESP in sport as well. Notice the transmission stays in drive. Okay, we're going to put it back into comfort because I want to try, turn that off. I want to try and give you some sort of an impression of how the car feels. I don't know if it'll translate in the GoPros, but so how the car actually changes character as you go up through these systems. Before we set off, I just want to give you a few bits of information. Quite a lot to go through, so I've had to write it down. This, of course, this car was introduced last year. We saw it first here at the Sharjah Motor Show. Comes in two flavors, if you like, a regular flavor and S. This is the S version. This is a space frame chassis, aluminium body, and the chassis as well. The hatch at the back is steel, and the bonnet at the front is magnesium. Of course, underneath that bonnet you have a twin turbo V8. It's a new V8. It's quite clever. What they've done is they've put the turbos inside the V shape of the engine to make it a bit more compact. It gives you 510 horsepower, 479 pounds-foot of torque. That's good for 0 to 100 in 3.8 seconds and 300 kilometers per hour. The S has 48 brake horsepower more and 36 pounds-foot of torque more than the regular car, and therefore that's 0.2 quicker to 106 kilometers per hour faster on the overall top speed. The S version also gets an electronic operated limited slip differential, AMG ride control, dynamic plus pack, which gives you active mounts for the engine and the transmission. You get bigger brakes and tires, 20-inch rims at the back on this one. Weighs about 30 kilograms more, but then the whole car weighs about 1645, so it's not really that heavy. And as standard, of course, you get the 7-speed dual clutch automatic with the paddle shifts on this car. Price of this car, 566,000 dirhams. Right, so let's, without further ado, set off. Setting off quite gently today. This is the beast of a thing. Now, regular readers will know that I have driven this car. I drove it earlier this year at its UAE launch, and it was launched at Yas Marina Circuit, blessedly. Actually, it was part of an AMG driving experience, but I went there for the GT because that was the main story. And it was great to be able to put its paces. I got in about, I think, a dozen laps nearly in this thing on the full Yas Marina F1 circuit. And the one thing that I found was that it was incredibly accessible. Very different from, if you like, its predecessor. They don't like to say that this is really a replacement for the SLS, but it kind of is, because this is the second car that AMG has produced in-house by itself after the SLS. The first, of course, the SLR was of course produced in association with McLaren. Now one thing that I found about this, out about this car when I drove it at Yas Marina was that it handles a lot better than an SLS. An SLS is a muscle car, and it feels like a German muscle car. So you have to be very, very tentative and very clever with the careful with the car. It's a bit of a beast and a bit of a wayward beast. This thing, I found it to be so much more planted, you know, as we're finding here on this road, compared to the SLS. At the same time, it's quite interesting because it still very much has, I mean, it's got that V8 and it's got that grumble. And let's just put it into the sports mode now. And a slightly more aggressive tone, but the exhaust is pretty much the same, but it just gets a bit more aggressive on the ride and the rest of the dynamics. Now, the interesting thing is, like I said, it is still a V8 muscle car. This is very much a muscle car. It has a muscle car sound. It kind of has a muscle car feel. It's got a long bonnet. It's got that very aggressive note. Wait till I put it into Sport Plus and then you'll see what I'm talking about. You just get around this roundabout before I don't have to interrupt. The truck drivers hate it when you make them slow down through all those gears. Do they still have all those gears, or is it all automatic now? I don't know. Anyway, always fun to punt it round the roundabout. So it has that big expansive bonnet. You can know it's a V8, you know it's a muscle car. It's got a massive cabin. This is a very wide car and a lot of space in here, and also it feels like a big old, very fast room on wheels. But where it differs from a muscle car is in its poise, its handling, its grip. It is absolutely planted. It's stuck down at the back. Big sticky tires on the back. And this car, I drove this actual car, I think it was back in March. And it was brand new, it was box fresh when I drove it at Yas Marina. This is exactly the same car. And now that I'm driving it, I'm meeting this car again. It's got about 10,000 hard-driven kilometers on it by journalists. So the tires are probably well run in, shall we say, but you know, they still grip stupendously well. So that is sports mode, and I think it's time to now go into, oh, did you hear that straight away? God almighty. A little bit of push on understeer there, but very controllable. And oh, can you hear that crackle? Look at that. I'm using the paddles on this occasion because I want to try and get some of those sound effects for you through the gear shifts and the gear changes. But really, the gearbox, the 7-speed dual clutch gearbox, is so good that you can pretty much leave it to its own devices and you don't have to do too much about it. It seems to know what gear you want when you want it. Great brakes, look at that. It pulls me out of my seat. Steering is nicely weighted, good turning, good feel. Decent feel, actually. I wouldn't say good feel, but decent feel. And but accurate. The front tends to run wide just a little bit before digging in, but the back is absolutely planted. But the sound effect is just amazing. So it's giving you this curious mix of this V8 brutish, crazy, mental muscle car sound effect and feel and the torque that you get off this thing. But at the same time, it's giving you sports car handling. Best of both worlds, in a sense, really, isn't it? But a lot of confidence from this car. It's a brute, though. I mean, you know, I've brought it to this wider, faster, more sweeping corners rather than the road that I usually use for some of these videos, which is a more tighter and twistier road course, because I think this is more suited to this sort of power and this sort of performance. But it is just such a tremendous machine. And of course, beautiful. It's a beautiful car. I do miss the gull wings. I like the gull wing doors. I mean, you know, even as a kid I had a 300 SL gull wing model, and for me it was just like every time the doors were open, I had one that opened the doors and I could just fly around. And I did think that was such a show-stopping special event of the SLS, where you could just rock up and open the doors and people were like, wow! It was a special occasion, and I love the fact that you could even move it around with the doors open. It was so cool. So this one doesn't have fancy doors, it just has regular doors. But it's a pretty car. Look at the grip. It's fantastic. we're going uphill. We're going uphill, and it's just relentless, absolutely relentless. But you can just dance with it. It's fantastic. Even like you get the impression that even if it does start to give you a little bit of slippage, which maybe in race mode it would do, it would be benign. And I kind of experienced that at Yas, and it was fantastic. You know, just the sort that you wanted. I mean, if you get one of these cars, you do have to take it onto a test track or a racetrack and just explore the incredible potential that they put into this car. This is best of all worlds. Cruise around in it, pose in it, use it every day, drive to work, drive to the office, and then go to a racetrack and obliterate everybody. So to sum up, I think this is an incredible car. This is a fantastic thing. I do miss the colouring doors, but aside from that, I can find very little to fault in this car. The interior, the one thing that I would say is that this layout is really awkward to me. I don't understand why they've moved this. This controller pad this is touch sensitive here at the top. I don't know if you can see that in that one over there. Let me just turn that around a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. This is very touch sensitive over here, and I find that I keep changing the radio channel and stuff like that when I'm not meaning to do that. I'm trying to do something else and I end up using that. And there's multiple ways of doing the same sort of thing. So you can use the knob here, but you can also use this bit here. Then they've got buttons along here and along here. It takes a bit of getting used to. I've only had this car for a day, and there's a lot to take in. So there's a lot of adjustments, a lot of things that you can do. So it takes a while to get used to. The other thing is this little lever. First of all, this lever is too small for a car like this. I want a big old lever up here at the front and go drive, and off we go, sort of thing, you know. But this lever is very, very small, and it's back here, and it's too far back, and I don't see why, for example, they couldn't have just taken all of this and just shifted up here and put the cup holders back here, and just had this further up in the thing. It would have just felt a little bit more natural. So aside from that, I don't really have any gripes with this car. I think it's a fantastic machine, a hell of a beast. I think if you're going to buy one, you might as well go the whole hog and get this S version. It's slightly better. This car, of course, is aimed directly at the Porsche 911, and in this particular case, you'd compare it to the 911 Turbo. 911 Turbo, interestingly, 10,000 dirhams less, exactly 10,000 dirhams less than this car, 556. That car is a little bit more horsepower, 520, which I think makes it about 2/10 quicker, or just 1/10 quicker, fraction quicker to 100, and a little bit faster. So on paper, you'd say go for the 911 Turbo. Cheaper, gives you more performance, slightly. But you know, that's just another 911. This is an AMG GT S, and it makes a noise that Thor would be proud of. I'm going to drive some more, catch the full review on motoringme.com. Check us out on some. I'm so taken with this car. Let me tell you one thing. There's a sunroof slider thing here. When this accelerates, and the reason I've got that open is because when this accelerates, it actually just opens by itself. That's the G-forces in this car. Anyway, check us out on social media, on Facebook. Just look for Motoring Middle East, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do subscribe. Like I said, launch review already on motoringme.com, but I will put a full review on this as well on motoringme.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Until the next time. Yesterday on my personal Facebook page, I put up a post, and I asked people to complete the sentence, the Mercedes AMG GT is like ... And quite a few people submitted some responses. I just want to read some of these to you, and then perhaps you can tell us which one of these you thought was the best. Let me just take my glasses off so I can read these a better. So, the AMG GT is like Cindy Crawford. The AMG GT is like out of my price range, man. The AMG GT S is like totally in my driveway at the moment. The AMG GT S is like the next best thing. The AMG GT S is the hammer of the gods. The AMG GT S is the ultimate accessory for a man with a tiny tallywhacker. The AMG GT S is a budget version of the SLS AMG. The AMG GT S is like sick. The AMG GTS is like the first toy car you ever received as a child. Oh, that's kind of cute. The AMG GTS is like well-balanced Porsche killer. The AMG GTS is like an orgasm on 4 wheels. I might substantiate that. The AMG GTS is like thunderclap. Whoa. So yeah, see what you thought of those, and let us know which one of those you thought was the best one. Thanks for watching, guys.